We started this documentary with a story of a handsome young actor who died behind the wheel of a Porsche in 1955. We're ending this documentary with another handsome young actor who died in the passenger seat of a Porsche in 2013. These two stories are bookends of these tragedies that we're focusing on. On November 30th, 2013, Paul Walker had a charity event. He was holding it at his always evolving auto shop up near Santa Clarita. And it was to benefit the victims of the Philippines typhoon that happened before that, obviously. They had already raised over $1 million, and they were buying kids' toys and games and food and supplies and medical supplies for the families as well. And Paul was overjoyed at the progress they'd made in this event, raising all this money for the victims. And everyone was in a great mood that day. And then it went terribly wrong. Behind me is Paul Walker's always evolving auto shop thing. And you see where that the blue windows are, and what looks like car carriers still over there to the right of it. That was where the charity event was being held. So of course at any Paul Walker event there's going to be flashy cars involved, and there was this beautiful red Porsche, and they were backing this back into Walker's garage. That's the weird thing about it, is it was just some guy backing it up, and they noticed it was running kind of funny. So Roger Rodas and Paul Walker decided to take it on a sort of an experimental spin around the industrial complex just to find out what the deal was with it. And so they took it out onto the road, and apparently it was running just fine, and they decided, hey, I know, let's take this thing and make it go fast. And that's what they did. So they would have driven out the driveway right here, they would have gone right, and they probably would have only made it about halfway around or 3/4 the way around, because it's almost directly behind this that the point of impact took place. In fact, everyone that was at the party noticed the fireball in the sky and went running over to the accident scene to see what was going on. All right, so we're on the route. We are traveling the same route that Rodas and Walker were traveling that afternoon. Is this it right here? This is it, isn't it? Right here. So behind me is the actual accident site where the point of impact was. And they were actually traveling northbound on this road where you see that curve. This would have been the last curve they took. Now keep in mind, nobody saw them, but they were probably, it's widely agreed that they were traveling about 100 miles an hour around this curve. They may have hit one of those dots in the street. That might have been a contribution to the accident, but they ended up hitting that curb right over there. First thing they did was sheared that tree that you see, the first tree right on the corner, and then they hit the second tree, and then they spun around and the vehicle burst into flames right there. It didn't take very long for many people to come. Some people came with fire extinguishers trying to put it out, but the heat from the flames was too intense. So of course then they called 911 and got their cell phones out and took loads of pictures all over the internet of the accident in flames. It was pretty dramatic. So this is the curve they never made. They were traveling in this direction, and you can see clearly this is almost like a racetrack that we're on right now, off of the main road, and clearly people use this for their recreational donuts. Use this road. So we're traveling now up to the actual accident scene. So Rodas and Walker were traveling towards us in this direction when they got to this driveway straight ahead from us. Witnesses watched the car traveling at a very unsafe speed. One of the theories is that it hit one of those little dots in the street and spun out of control, because it's the Porsche that they were driving was such a delicate vehicle that any little change in the surface would have thrown it off. So that's one of the theories. But it did. It got thrown off, and he landed right up here. Now, since we've been here, this has been months afterwards. At least 4 cars and more traffic is constantly coming around here. It's turned into a real shrine. So Rodas and Walker came around this way. grazed that tree right there and went up the curb, grazed the tree. There was a traffic light right there. That was taken out. The car actually spun out after the impact of the second tree and landed here. And this is where it burned. And you can see clearly there are still scorch marks. The fuel leaked all the way down to the end of the bushes. So this was the actual point where the car landed. The debris from the car, they found some of it, 170 feet away. They found some of the debris. The starter from the Porsche ended up going through the window of the second-story window of that wireless office right there. So it all unfolded like we just walked through it. This was it. This was just a spray of fuel and Porsche. And as you can see, there's not much around here that hasn't been etched with some sort of memorial. The tree stumps here, if you look closely, you can see carvings in the trees over there. There's some sort of, looks like a sock hanging from that tree over there in the middle of it. So it's become a real pilgrimage for people. And there's plenty of traffic around here today. Immediately after the accident, this neighborhood became a shrine. Hundreds of people came from all over the place to leave flowers, to leave ribbons, to leave candles, and they have to clear it out now fairly often, even though it's been months later. We spoke to somebody who said there were a lot of that kind of memorial things left last night, and they were cleared out since this morning. Even directly after the accident, the famous store from Fast and Furious had a memorial that popped up in front of it as well. Now, Paul Walker and Roger Rodas are commemorated here in the Dearly Departed Tours Gallery. A very kind friend of Dearly Departed Tours stopped in one day and gifted us with that remnant of the accident scene, a branch from the charred tree that was charred from the accident. And now this remnant of Paul Walker's death and Rodas' death will now forever be in the Dearly Departed Tours Gallery.
You heard me.